Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to your Smuff. It's been a long time since I did my last stream or video. Not because I just kind of felt, what's the point? Because clearly no one's watching my videos, and it's just like Anyway, enough of that. I'm doing this video um because I was talking with someone who I thought that the suggestion that he brought up for Curse Tank Simulator on Roblox was a pretty good suggestion. And the suggestion um, is the 90mm T15E2 and the T32 turrets. Um, and I think it's a pretty good suggestion. It does need a little bit tweaking, in my opinion. This is my opinion only. So this isn't like for everyone's opinion. This is just my opinion only. So I've got the 105mm Freedom 4. I've got the Freedom 2, of course, and I've got the 90mm T15E2. And I've added a few more guns like the 120mm M58, the 110mm rifled gun, which was an experimental gun between. It was a it was worked on between the Americans and the British to make a new rifle gun, and the 110 was this experimental gun. And then you got the 120mm smoothbore gun from the Chinese, from the WZ 1224. And so I'm just gonna talk about some of these guns. So the 105, we all know and love. It's a pretty good gun. The AP works really well. I think it works really well. APHE is also really, really good. This is just a solid gun. This really is a solid gun. It doesn't need any changing. It doesn't need to be up tiered. It doesn't need to be down tiered. I mean, saying that, you could potentially up tier this gun and it would still work pretty well. The main problem that every single gun at tier 5, 7, 9, and 11 suffers is down tiering. You know, you can down tier guns like the 105 Freedom 4 down to tier 5 and 6 and just completely make armor irrelevant. But, you know, we can't help that. And then you got the 90mm Freedom 2, which is. It's a decent gun. The penetration feels a bit lackluster. I mean, I get a lot of bounces with this. The AP is. I don't use the AP. I use the APHE. They're saying that I use the AP to penetrate through like a wall, which the APHE for some bizarre reason won't. Even though in games like War Thunder, APHE can actually go through a wall. Not all the times, but you know, if your target's close enough to the wall, then it will go through and kill the target or severely cripple. And you've got the T9, the 90mm T15E2, which is the T32's 90mm gun. And I've put my own like unique twist on the stats. So it's got AP and APDS. It's meant to be APCR, but the game doesn't really do APCR. They do APDS. So we're just gonna say this is APCR when really it's APDS. So tier 7, 224mm of penetration from the AP, which is in nowadays it's a bit low for 90mm. Like you've got the 84mm, which doesn't have like 226 mils of pen. I'm not entirely sure, but this is like a little bit low. And then the APCR or the APDS 273. Now the reason why I put the APDS with such outrageous pen is because the ricochet angle is ridiculously bad. It's 61, which means you need to hit flat surfaces with this APDS, otherwise you're just not gonna pen. The reload is 11 seconds for tier 7. And I think the guy that suggested the 90mm, he did point out a really good thing. He said that if you make it any lower, to like say 9 seconds or whatnot, it makes every single gun, which is around 80 to 100mm at tier 7, basically useless. Because why would you use those guns? Which, you know, they all have their own unique playstyles and whatnot. But why would you use those guns instead of using a 90mm with pretty good pen, and a really good reload? So I can understand where he's coming from. So 11 seconds is as low as I'm willing to go. And of course the weight, 1.25. Is this tons? I think this is tons. Hang on. Yeah, 1.25 tons, which I'm not sure if that's relatively heavy. I mean, it is a long 90mm. It's not like the Freedom 2, which is considered as a long-ish 90mm. This is a long 90mm. Like, this is something like the Super Sherman, the T26E4 would use. So I think the weight is fine. And then, of course, you've got the Freedom 2, which is 900 grams. Then I decided to add the 120mm M58 at tier 9, with just AP, with 342mm of pen and 71 degree ricochet angle, with 13-second reload. The reason why I give it a 13-second reload is because I noticed that the French one, which has 337mm of penetration, has a 12-second reload. So I give this thing a 13-second reload. And a weight of 1.3 tons. Oh, no, weight of 2.3 tons, I do apologise. And a ammo volume of 1.3 units. And then we get to the 110mm rifle gun, which I put at tier 8, but only in boxes, not in the shop or the blueprints. And it's got AP, APDS, and HESH. Now, this is the experimental British-American gun. And the AP's got 268mm of penetration, which I'm not sure if that's high. I think that is really high. I might even put this... I mean, the thing is, putting this to tier 9, the AP is going to be practically useless. So, I guess this is like high-end tier 8. I mean, I'm not sure. You guys put in the comments of like where you think this 110mm rifle gun sits. Like, is it high-end tier 8? Is it medium end? You know, you put it below. Of course, I gave it 71 degrees ricochet angle with the AP, 12-second reload. 80 units of accuracy. They all have 80 units, actually. I bet almost all 80 units, because I'm not sure if like the higher the number, the worse the accuracy, or is it the higher the number, the better accuracy? I'm not entirely sure about that. And then, of course, the ammo volume is slightly less than the M58, and the weight is slightly less as well. And then the APDS, which has, again, ridiculously bad ricochet angle. I mean, it's better. It's better than the 90mm, not that much. It's got 298mm of pen. It's got 12-second reload, of course, and all the stats are the same. And then I decided to give it HESH. I wasn't sure to give it 152mm pen HESH or 127. But because the 110mm is closer to 105 instead of the 120, I decided to give it 127mm of Hesh pen, and an 80-degree ricochet angle. And then the Chinese gun, which I put at tier 9, the APDS is 379 millimeters, which I believe that is slightly higher than the what do you call it? I might actually put that down to 359 because I feel like that's 379 is just too high. The ricochet angle is 65 degrees, which is still pretty terrible. The reload is 11. Ammo volume. Oh, no, not ammo volume. Ammo volume is 1.35. Accuracy is 80 units, and weight is 2.2. So it's slightly heavier than the 110mm, slightly lighter than the M58. I decided to give the Chinese gun only APDS, because I feel like putting it at tier 10 with APFSDS, there's like too many guns at tier 10. Too many. There's just too many. There's not enough at tier 9, which I feel there's just not enough. And so I feel like this would be a pretty interesting introduction. Would it completely ruffle stomp every other tier 9 gun? Probably. I mean, 359mm with 65 degrees of like APDS pen. I mean, to balance it out, I might even make it 60 degrees. And then, of course, 11-second reload. And with the Hesh, I gave it the iconic 152mm of Hesh pen with 80 degrees of ricochet. I might even make that 77. And it's got an explosive yield. Oh, that's the other thing. The explosive. Wait, why is that backwards? Hang on, why is that backwards? There you go. Okay, there you go. That's better. So the explosive yield of the two guns are very similar, 8.73 to 8.91. But of course the 120 has more pen. If you guys have any other suggestions for like me talking about like possible guns to be added in and whatnot, then I'll gladly listen to them. I'll gladly listen to, you guys disagreeing with me. If you disagree with me, then put it in the comments, and we could just talk about it and whatnot. But I feel like the game needs a Chinese gun, and I feel like the 120mm smoothbore gun from the WZ122 project will fit really well into here. And also the 110mm rifle gun, I think this will be an iconic gun. Put it in boxes, obviously. But I think it will be an iconic gun. Maybe the reload could be the same as, or maybe like slightly longer than I don't know, really. 12 seconds, tier 8. I don't know, really. I mean, 71 degrees AP, ricochet angle. Those are the other things. The reason why I gave the M103 gun only AP is because the M58 is renowned for having a monstrous AP round. And I feel like if they make this AP round be absolutely monstrous with penetration, maybe make the reload like 15 seconds or whatnot, or like 14 seconds base, then this could be a dangerous gun to come across. But of course, you've got the penalty of a longer reload. I might actually make it like 15 seconds, because if it's going to have like monstrous amounts of spore and damage, then of course you want to have a penalty to like reload and things like that. Um, Obviously, none of these guns have HE because HE is, in my opinion, I've never, I say never, I've very rarely used high explosive. High explosive is one of those shells where it's basically completely useless. Um, you smack a tank in a spot where you are you are fairly sure that when that shell explodes, then you can overpressure that tank, and it just doesn't work. It takes no damage. So HE, there is no point equipping new guns with HE. Just equip them with Hesh or Heat. Just do not equip them with HE because HE not only takes up space, but it is completely and utterly useless as a shell. That's my opinion. I might be completely wrong, but that is my opinion. Um, I mean, I could give the M58 heat, but then it's like, what's the point of giving it heat? Like, seriously. Because then people are going to be running around firing, what was it, like 390mm pen heat or like 420mm pen heat. There's just no point putting heat on this gun. So I think having it with just AP will make this thing pretty good. It's not going to make it overpowered. It's not going to be underpowered. If they get it right, of course. If they make it so that this gun does immense spore damage, then this thing could be pretty good. Um, the T15E2, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It could be a good gun. It could be a good gun at tier 7. But then you got the problem of it being down tiered. And then with 273mm of APDS pen, of course, with absolutely outrageously bad ricochet angle. At first, before I changed this, I put it as 59 degrees. And I thought that was absurdly too low. So I put it as 61. And of course, it's got 11-second reload. But, oh yeah, the other thing, because this is a longer gun with longer shells, and it's the same caliber, I made its ammo volume slightly more than the Freedom 2. I guess you could call this thing the Freedom 3? I don't know. I mean, you could call it the Freedom 3. But the argument was, well, it wasn't really an argument, it was more of us just discussing about it. But the discussion was the T-32 was designed to be an assault / breakthrough heavy tank, while the T-29 was not. But I can understand where the guy's coming from. I can absolutely understand. Turrets which are unstabilized, which you put tier 8, they just get massacred. I understand that. I really understand that. But if you're going to put a T-32 turret at tier 7 with outrageous armor, because I said you want to give it its historically accurate armor, which is 298mm on the gun mantlet. You want to give it that, and the gun mantlet is absolutely ginormous. If you do that, and you leave it at tier 7, how on God's green earth are tier 5 and 6s meant to fight that? Like it's not a bad idea. I'm not dismissing his idea whatsoever. I just think it will be better with it being at tier 8. Move from tier 7 to tier 8, increase its armor values. Of course, it's a small turret, so you don't want it to have a reload multiplier which is as high as a T-29. But you want it to have better armor, because the T-29 was meant to be a versatile turret where you can equip it with a 120, a 105, or 155 or whatnot. The T-32 was not designed for that. It was designed to be a breakthrough / assault heavy tank, like the King Tiger, but just a hell of a lot more well armored. Yeah, the 90mm T-15E2, or I'll just put the Freedom 3. Freedom 3, I think could be a really good gun at tier 7. The APDS, I think having it have really good pen, but have really bad ricochet angles justifies it, because people are going to look at that and they're going to think, oh, that has really good pen. But then they go and shoot something which is angled, and like 5 times out of 10 they don't pen, because the ricochet angle is just that bad. It is really bad. I'm not sure if it's the worst in the game, but it's not good. It's not good at all. I mean, it's 10 degrees worse than the AP that the Freedom 3 uses. Even though the Freedom 3 has worse pen by 49mm, it can effectively pen better at angles. Effectively, it doesn't lose as much pen at angles than the APDS does. The APDS pen drop off at angles is stunning. It is shocking. Like, just to put it into perspective, the Freedom 2 AP drop off is quite high. Like, you're gonna struggle to pen things which are side scraping. Even if they're like not doing side scraping that well, where you can quite comfortably pen them with the AP HE. If you have AP loaded and you fire at an angle which the AP HE would normally pen, I guarantee you that you have at least a 50 to 60% chance of ricocheting off that target with the AP. And that's what I feel like the APDS on the Freedom 3 should be. It should have really good pen, but it should have really bad ricochet angles. Because this round here is designed to smash through unangled surfaces, but it is not designed to smash through angled targets. It's just not designed for it. That's where the AP comes in, because the AP, even though it has, I would say, mediocre pen for tier 7, it has pretty good ricochet angles at 71 degrees, so this thing can pen better at angles than the APDS. The 11-second reload, I mean, put it up at 12 seconds, it's going to make it irrelevant, because you got the 105, you got the Freedom 4, which is just a bigger gun that does better. I mean, of course, if I put the AP pen up to 234, that kind of makes the APDS a little bit less relevant. Because then the AP will have 10mm more pen, which will then allow it to pen more angles better. But with the M58, I mean, I'm not sure if the M58 ever used APDS, because if it did, then how are you going to balance that? Like, the AP already has 340mm pen. You could give it 330mm of pen, or like 320 or whatnot, but then give it like outrageously good damage, like post pen damage. Um, but the M58 in War Thunder, the M58 AP is unimaginably good. It's a very, very good round in War Thunder. The 110mm rifle gun, 268mm of pen. I mean, it's tier 8, so tier 8 is you don't have much space to work with. So of course it has to be higher than the 105, than the Freedom 4. But I guess you can call the M58 the Freedom 5. Just for shit and giggles, I guess. I mean, I guess you could do a similar thing with the 110mm rifle gun. You can like remove the APDS, but then bloat the penetration of the AP to to pretty high levels. Or you can like allow it to keep the APDS, but then like nerf the APDS pen to like 281. The Hesh, I think the Hesh is fine. 127mm pen is fine. And then you got the Chinese gun, 359mm pen. I guess I can put that down to 349. Or like 341. No, 349 I think is good. Actually, 332, there you go. The Hesh on the Chinese gun 152 is fine. The APDS is fine. You know, it's got pretty terrible ricochet angles, but it's got pretty good pen, 349. So I think it's fine. The reload 11 seconds. I'm not sure if that's pretty fast. I guess it is. I guess it is pretty quick. But put your comments in the comment section below. Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys not agree with me? What parts of this would you change? I was actually going to like adding my guns on, but you know I don't want to make the video like super long. But if you guys like got like more guns that you suggest, then put them in the comments below, and I will gladly talk about them in the future video. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Peace.